goat, I'm that goat. I'm an undisputed goat. I suggest you take notes. I'm the GOAT. You better stand back in line. I'm undefeated, even if it's just in my mind. I'm a goat, I'm that goat. I'm an undisputed goat. I suggest you take notes. I'm the GOAT. You better stand back in line. I'm undefeated, even if it's just in my mind. Gotta put in work, gotta put in work. Get it on the grind, get it on the grind. Ain't nothing easy, ain't nothing easy. Starts in your mind, starts in your mind. From the pyramid to electricity, to electricity. It's hard to get to woke, it's hard to get to woke. It's hard to get to free, it's hard to get to free. It's easy to give in, it's easy to give in. It's easy to be lazy, it's easy to be lazy. Gotta go for your dreams. Yo, what is up?
Yeah. The GOAT, the political GOAT.
The
Good
political
morning.
goat show. What's up, family? What is
What's up, fam? Welcome to the Political GOAT show. Good morning. If you're on the West Coast, good morning. If you're on the middle of the country, good afternoon. And if you're on the East Coast, what's up? Good afternoon to you. Welcome to the Political GOAT show. I am your host, along with my co-host here now.
The guest.
My co-host / guest / extraordinaire / happy birthday.
Appreciate it.
Happy birthday, brother. This is this brother's birthday. Big shout out to you, Moya. Before we go into what we got to go into today on Political GOAT, just want to give you a happy birthday shout out and want the family who's watching to give you a happy birthday shout out too. So if you're watching in the chat on the YouTube, give this brother a happy birthday shout out, please. Thank you so very much.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I was really trying to keep that on the DL, but it is what it is. It's all good, man.
The cat's out the bag, man. Man, you got to get your love, man. You do a lot of great work, man. And we want to appreciate you. You know, this wasn't in the script, but do want to appreciate you for your work. And yeah, you should be publicly acknowledged for your contribution to everything that's going on, including this show, the Political GOAT Show, where we bring you all kinds of amazing political content. Yeah, thank you so much. I see all the flowers coming in the chat. Thank you so much. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so let's get started though, man, because we got a lot to get into, obviously, today on the Political GOAT Show. This is our first official show. Check out our pilot that just went down last week right here on the Political GOAT YouTube. Subscribe to the channel, like this, share this, hit the bell, get the notifications. Make sure you are here every Sunday morning. We're bringing you political content that's easy to understand, that's entertaining, and that's also good, okay, and actually true, okay, which is actually rare in some cases nowadays, right? So, are you ready to get started, brother?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's go to the first round, man.
All right. Round
one. Right. Okay, so today on Political GOAT, we are going to pick up where we actually left off on our pilot, to be honest with you, because we have a lot of important stuff to talk about around 2022 midterms, 2022 midterms coming up in November of 2022, but there's a lot that's going to go on and happen before November of 2022, and right now is the time to be looking at. So let's start round one of the Political GOAT Show off this morning with a look at the United States Senate 2022. And let's talk about some key facts first of all, okay? Key facts in this round one. If you're ready, put a 1 in the chat or put a 1 in the comments, or if you're ready, say you're ready in the comments, and let's go. A key fact to start with first is that there are 100 senators, okay? So let's start with some basics. There are 100 senators total, right, in the United States. 100 senators, 2 for every state. There's 50 states. 50 times 2 equals 100. And another key fact to consider before we go even further is that these senators are up for re-election every 6 years. So every 6 years, not every 2 years, like the other folks in the Congress that we'll talk about soon. These folks are up for reelection every 6 years. And where things stand right now, it's a tie, 50-50. 50 Republican senators, 50 Democratic senators. And guess what happens when we have a tie? Well, the vice president, who is technically the tiebreaker, gets to break the tie. And so if the Democrats control the presidency and the vice president is a Democrat, which is true right now, our vice president is Kamala Harris from here in California, then the Democrats get to break any ties when there's a tie vote in the Senate. So the Democrats have effectively control of the United States Senate. So that's where we are right now. In 2022, though, the elections will be held on November 8th. There are 34 of the 100 seats up for re-election on November 8th of 2022. There may be some special elections in between then. If there are, for example, people retire before now in 2022, there'll be special elections in the different states. But right now, there should be 34 what we call regular elections in 2022. 14 of the seats held by Democrats and 20 of the seats held by Republicans are up for re-election. So of the 34, 14 of those seats are held by Democrats and 20 of those seats are held by Republicans. Now, one thing to keep in mind as well, 32 of the 34 seats up for re-election in 2022 were up for re-election in 2016. Okay, so in some ways we're fighting some of the same battles in 2022 that we were fighting and that were being fought in 2016, right? So a couple of key states to watch, right? Really, really key states to watch. Actually, let's focus in on one of those specifically, and let's look at the state of Georgia. And Georgia is a very important state to watch, and we're going to come back to that and talk about why Georgia is a very important state to watch at the third round when we talk about how this matters and why this matters specifically for Black folks in particular areas. All right, that's a lot. Let's go to round two.
All right, let's go to round two.
Round two.
Fight. Okay, round two. So we talked about the U.S. Senate. 34 seats up for re-election in 2022. There are 100 senators, right? But what about the House of Representatives? That's another part of the government that's up for re-election in 2022. So the House of Representatives, right? Let's start with some key facts. Okay, let's start with some background, right? There are 435 members of the United States House of Representatives. So we have 435 members, and these men and women are up for re-election every 2 years, not 6 like the senators, up for re-election every 2 years. Okay, and the number of House of Representative people or representatives or members of the House, that's what we call them, that you have for your state is different than how we talked about it with the senators, right? Because with the senators, there's 2 for every state. So no matter how big or small your state is, how many people there are, your state's going to get 2, right? But for the House, it's different. The number of people you have representing you in the House of Representatives is based on how big your state is in terms of population, right? So California, here we have a lot of them. We have, I think, like 35. Some states have a few, right? It's based on your population, right? And where things stand right now, the House of Representatives is controlled by the Democrats. The Democrats have 223 of the 435 members of the whole House of Representatives. So they have control of the House of Representatives by about 5 or 6 seats, depending on how you count it, 5 or 6 seats. So just like we said, the Democrats have effective control of the House of Representatives, of the Senate by basically 1 tie vote. The Democrats have control of the House by just 5 votes, right? Just 5 votes. And that's why both in the House and in the Senate, we think this is going to be a very important 2022 because it's so close right now that a small swing this way or a small swing that way could make the Democrats keep control or make the Republicans take control. Now, one thing to keep in mind here too, as we are talking very simply about this, but I want to introduce a word that we don't use very often, but is important this year. That word is redistricting. Redistricting. Yes, we're going to give you a multi-syllable word on a Sunday morning. Okay? Redistricting. And basically what that means is redrawing the lines for where your districts start and end in your city and in your state. And what that means is that makes a difference for who represents you and how many people that person represents and what those people look like and what those people vote like, right? And every 10 years or so, I believe, all across the country, we do this redistricting process. And this is one of those years that it's going on, and it's happening right before a 2022 midterm election. So this redistricting event this year is like slap in the middle of a very important time. So that's going to matter here too. And we don't know exactly how it's going to matter yet. So that's a big thing in the background that we want to keep in mind as we're talking about the House of Representatives and also the Senate of the United States as well. All right. I want to stop here because that's a lot also. I want to go to round three. And in round three, let's talk specifically about a couple of very important key races and also about specifically how this matters to Black folks, because that's where we come from here at the Political Show. All right, ready? Round three.
Let's do it.
Round 3.
Okay, let's slow it down now. Yeah, we're in round three. So how does this matter to Black folks? Why does this matter to Black folks? And where does this matter to Black folks? I want to point to two specific places that are important right now. And the first is in Ohio, and specifically Ohio's 11th district, 11th congressional district, where there's a race for the U.S. House of Representatives race to replace Representative Marcia Fudge. And Marcia Fudge went to work for the Biden administration. She was picked by the Biden administration to go to work for them. So she gave up her seat in the Congress, and two people are running for that seat. Two Black women are running for that seat. Two amazing, powerful Black women are running for that seat, right? One is Nina Turner, very well known Nina Turner of Bernie Sanders campaign, and city councilwoman from Cleveland, Ohio, also, and has a strong and long history in Cleveland and a strong and long history in Ohio in her own right. Done a lot of great work, and it's Nina Turner versus Shontel Brown, and Shontel Brown is someone else who has lived and worked in the Ohio district, has been actually building a strong, to be honest with you, push and strong campaign with a lot of support from a lot of the more well-known Democratic names like the Hillary Clintons and the parts of the Democratic Party that a lot of us are more familiar with, right? And this is something that is an important race to watch because let's talk about it. Cleveland, Akron, Ohio's 11th district. This is a district, or these are places where Black folks are 50% of the population, 30% of the population. So there is potential power. Now, your power is in your physical numbers, right, as Black folks politically, but it's also in our voting numbers as Black people too, right? So it's also amount of it's not just how many people you have, it's also the amount of people you have that also vote and that also participate in the political process, in addition to just the voting part, right? One of the things that we've been doing a lot of is just being sort of used as the political voting part. And there's half of Cleveland is Black. So there's a lot of potential if you think of your power as in numbers. There's a lot of potential there for not just participating in the voting part, but also participating in the other parts of the power, right? And other parts of the power making and the decision making. So Ohio's 11th district is an important race to watch because Black folks can have an important influence over who is the winner, whether it's Nina Turner or Shontel Brown. Now, that's in the local context, right? But Shontel Brown and Nina Turner have very different political ideas and things that they want to do, and they're both in the same party. They're both Democrats. Okay? And this is being looked at, this is, in some ways you could look at this as a example of a fight that's going on in the Democratic Party right now between some parts of the party that want to do things like Nina Turner wants to do them and Bernie Sanders wants to do them, and the other parts of the party that want to do things like Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and those kind of folks want to do them, even though the two people talking are in the same party and also they are both black people, right? Now, to be honest with you, this is some ways an example of a problem too, right? With how we do black politics, and partly it's an example of how black politics is actually, or what you might or could call black politics, is actually contained or captured by the Democratic Party in some ways, and also parts also in some ways by the Republican Party too. But this is a fight that, in both cases, to be honest with you, either of the two ways that they think are still not going to get black folks the kind of transformative policy that we need. So even if the Bernie Sanders, Nina Turner kind of thinking for black politics actually wins, and wins in this race, then that will not materially change the impact, the conditions and impact the folks who would be probably decisive in actually making that victory happen. So I'm talking about that 50% of black folks in Cleveland, that 30% of black folks in Akron also, right? That would not change, and the same goes for the Shontel Brown win, and that's because the politics and the policies of the Democratic Party right now, they are super class-based. They're class-based policies, and they overemphasize class, and they don't understand, I think, enough the type of class or distorted class like way that black folks like have it, right? We don't have a class, system like white folks do or like other folks do. We don't, right? There's even a question of whether or not there even is a black middle class, right? Even if there is one, right? And if you look at wealth, so that is not understood well enough, and that's not taken into consideration well enough in the kind of policies that even the most what they call progressive part of the Democratic Party, the Nina Turners of the world, the Bernie Sanders of the world want, and the other direction is more conservative. That's the Joe Biden, that's the Barack Obama, that's the Hillary Clinton of the world, and we know what kind of policies they have, right? And those are the Democrats. And so this is an example. This raises a very good example of how captured we are and how there is no real independent black politics right now. And we have to do something about it. All right, let's switch gears. Let's reset. Let's go to the other side of the country and let's take another look at another important race. I was going to say let's go to round 4, okay? But we don't have a round 4 yet, okay? So let's take a look at a state that we actually talked about early in this episode of the Political Go, and that's the state of Georgia. Okay? And specifically, the Senate race for one of Georgia's Senate seats, which is the seat held by Rafeal Warnock. Okay, ding, 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 Rafeal Warnock, right? Rafeal Warnock, black man, former pastor, of the church that Dr. Martin Luther King, preached at, right? Won the reelection, won his election just this year. He just got elected. So think about this, right? You just get elected in 2021, right? But and you get elected like this because there was a special election. So you weren't on the regular, like 6-year, Senate thing. You got elected in a special election, but there's another election coming up right like next year. So as soon as you get elected, you're like running for re-election like immediately. That's what Rafeal Warnock is going through right now. And he's up for re-election in 2022, and he's being challenged right now both on the Republican side and on the Democratic side. And I want to actually give a shout out here to someone we have had the privilege of knowing and meeting and doing some really great work with over some time, Tamara Shealey, who's running for the Senate seat in Georgia right now as a primary challenge to Rafeal Warnock Democratic side. And Tamara Shealey is a super pro reparations candidate. And that's one issue that Rafeal Warnock, to be honest with you, either is completely silent on and or completely, doesn't have the right position on from our perspective. So this is an important state to watch from that perspective. One, because he's getting a reparations challenge, right, from his Democratic left. On the other thing to say about this as an important race is that this is Georgia, right? And this is a state where, let's talk about it. In 2021, just a few months ago, not a few minutes, a few months ago, what happened? We had Georgia go from red to blue for the first time, I think, since the 70s or for a long time, right? And that state going red to blue gave the Democrats that basically majority in the Senate that we talked about. And this is the last state to actually turn blue and give the Democrats the majority, and it's also up for re-election basically right after. So this is a state that's really going to get a lot of attention because it's like going to be a big test. Like, was that win in 2021? Was that win a few months ago real? Was it strong? Is Georgia really a blue state? Was that some other stuff, right? We don't know. So that is what is also important about this particular state also. And last thing to say about Georgia, there are some really big important places in Georgia where there are a lot of Black folks, right? The Atlanta area, right? I have family in Georgia. I think a lot of us do. And this is an important state for Black folks historically too, right? From our movements, right? Obviously, a lot of our culture is built there. A lot of the rap game and music game, the entertainment world, is being led by the folks coming out of Atlanta right now. And there's a lot of energy in that state around politics. Don't forget we have Stacey Abrams, who some think is still going to be looking for some political office in Georgia also. And that possibly could happen in 2022 also. So Georgia is an important place to watch for Black people also. It's Ohio and Georgia, and it's the two races that we just talked about. It's Nina Turner's race because of what it says about where we are as Black folks and how it's a really good example of Black folks fighting for policies that in their best case won't really do a lot to help Black folks as a part of the Democratic Party. And then also looking at Georgia, where you have this really important role for Black folks, but the question is the same. What do Black folks really get from the kind of political force and role that we play in these two particular states? So that's a lot. But here on Political Go, we're going to make this very easy to digest. We're going to take this slow. We're going to take it good, right, in terms of the process. And we're going to make sure that you understand what we talk about for the 2022 elections over time. So we don't want to give you too much today, but this is where you need to be thinking and how you need to be thinking about what's going on in 2022. You, Moya, any questions, comments, feedback, birthday brother?
Well, I guess my question is in terms of when are the midterms coming up?
November 8th, 2022.
Okay.
Now, but let me say this too, and thank you. You actually helped me here. I almost left this out. The election for the Ohio race is actually in 2 weeks. Okay, so the Ohio race between Nina Turner and Shontel Brown is actually in 2 weeks because it's a primary election, what we call a primary election. So it's a special election rather. So it's a special election. So it's not on the regular schedule, right? So this election is actually in 2 weeks. It's I believe in early August. So yeah, this is coming up soon.
So my question is that if they're running for the special election, are they going to have to run again in the primaries? Not the primaries. I'm sorry, the midterms in November.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. That is absolutely the case, because every member of the House is up for re-election every 2 years. So when you get elected in a special election, similar to how Rafeal Warnock got elected this year in the Senate, and then it's going to have to run again for 2022 next year, basically. Same goes for whoever wins this race in Ohio in a couple of weeks. So yeah, they got their work cut out for them.
All right. So in terms of strategy, what should people do in terms of, galvanizing and understanding people's policies? Like how much in advance should people be looking at? And also, like, when do they know when, people are running for, the office? Are they on the tickets now, or at what point can people say, okay, well, I'm running now officially, before it's too late?
Yeah, no, great question. I'll take the question backwards. So one, a lot of states have deadlines. Most states have deadlines for when candidates have to file their paperwork and make it basically publicly official that they're running. So those deadlines will vary state by state, but usually the deadlines are either around now, or between now and the end of the year, and now and early next year. So between now and, let's say, the next 6 to 8 months is when you're going to start seeing official filings and officially candidates start to say, hey, I'm officially running. But you shouldn't be surprised to see candidates talking about them wanting to run, talking about their desire to run, talking about what they would do if they ran now. And you shouldn't definitely not be surprised to find that the candidates are doing the other things that they need to do to prepare to run now. So and also, let's say this too, there are groups right now who are also involved in actually the candidate selection process. Like, there's a whole candidate selection process that happens before we even see the candidates, right? Like there's it's not like an election, but like there's a process that goes on under, like, it's usually not as public as like the regular elections, but there's a process that goes on that where like candidates or potential candidates are going around looking for potential supporters, lining up potential support, setting themselves up. Like some candidates write books before they, run for office, et cetera. So don't be surprised to see that, but that's going to be more public between now and the next 6 to 8 months, and folks will be able to see that between now and the next 6 to 8 months. You can find out, though, who's running for any specific election or who's announced anything on usually your county or your city, but usually your county's election website. There's usually a county election website for whatever your county is. If you Google your county and then Google county election website or county voting website, you'll be able to find out who's running or who said that they're running, and also you'll be able to find the deadlines. Also, if you Google your state Secretary of State office, if your state has a Secretary of State office, or wherever your state does the elections process that's where you'll find information about who's running, who said they're running, and when the specific deadlines are. Now, tell me your first question again, brother.
Yeah, I think you pretty much answered it. So, yeah, we're good.
Hey, at the political goat, we're good.
So yeah, I mean,
and thanks to everybody for watching.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate your time. And also, we put the subscription link in the chat. Please subscribe to the Political Goat Show. Click on that link, because we're probably going to do a couple more shows on the Amend the Mass Media platform, but then we're going to then move over to the Political Goat Show platform.
Yeah.
So we're just doing one step at a time, moving things over. But we appreciate everyone who's listening, and we're trying to get some strategy going from 2022. So You know, I think the saying is, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready, right? Because
yeah, brother, and that's what this show is doing, right? We're getting ready, right, and we're helping folks be ready, right, for what's coming from the politics, specifically around 2022, right now. That's where we're starting our focus. Obviously, we'll be talking about a lot of other great political stuff, right? We're going to bring on a lot of great guests. Right, this conversation around 2022 is not over, right? So make sure you like, subscribe, you follow, you share, you're doing all that great stuff, like my good brother Umoya said. And keep in mind, there are things that we want to hear from you about for 2022. And what are you thinking about? What's going to be important to you in 2022? Your first question, Umoya, about what Black folks should be thinking about for 2022 themselves. That's a show for us, I think, because I think we can go 3 rounds on that for sure.
Yeah, for sure, brother. So I'm gonna give us a little. Little something. And yeah, that's it for the rounds in the Political Goat Show. I think what's really important is that you know, oftentimes when people are going in for office, you know, people say, well, Black folks don't ask for nothing. Black folks don't ask for nothing. Well, there's some of us individually that do, you know, but it takes a whole community to, you know, to ask for things before, you know, these politicians you know, start running. So you know, we just want to be ready and prepared. And I think definitely, Chris, if we can have maybe some people from the Ohio state and also Georgia state, you know, especially with the follow-up.
We will. We will.
Yeah,
we
so
will.
we
Look forward to it, fam. We absolutely will. Absolutely will. Stay tuned here to Political Go. We're gonna bring folks from these places, like Black folks, and actually talk to them, and stay tuned for the Black Agenda show, right? Stay tuned for the Political Go Black Agenda show, right? Because we got to talk about that for sure. Like, what is a Black agenda for Black folks? And I can't wait. So stay tuned.
All right. Well, on that note, you want to take us out of here with the I guess intro, outro? Kim?
I am the greatest. I'm a goat, I'm that goat. I'm an undisputed goat. I suggest you take notes. I'm the GOAT. You better stand back in line. I'm undefeated, even if it's just in my mind. I'm a goat, I'm that goat. I'm an undisputed goat. I suggest you take notes. I'm the GOAT. You better stand back in line. I'm undefeated, even if it's just in my mind. Gotta put in work, gotta put in work. Get it on the grind, get it on the grind. Ain't nothing easy, ain't nothing easy. Starts in your mind, starts in your mind. From the pyramid to electricity, to electricity. It's hard to get to woke, it's hard to get to woke. It's hard to get to free, it's hard to get to free. It's easy to give in, it's easy to give in. It's easy to relate, it's easy to